Picture this for a second. You're riding a bicycle across this really quiet college campus.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And it is morning, but the heat is already just absolutely oppressive, like thick, heavy, suffocating heat.
Oh, yeah, the kind where the air feels like soup.
Exactly. But you're just pedaling in this really slow, deliberate cadence, just entirely lost in your own thoughts.
Right.
And the reason we are starting here with this specific image is because these aren't just, passive memories we're looking at today. We are witnessing the raw, tempestuous emotions of a man who is actively trying to rediscover the magic that used to anchor his life.
Yeah, and that man is Professor Erasmus Cromwell-Smith, which, if you're joining us for this deep dive today, you're in for something really special.
You absolutely are, because we're digging into a totally fascinating collection of the professor's poetic and philosophical teachings.
We have his personal lecture notes, the wisdom from his childhood mentor, this woman known as Mrs. V,
Right.
and deeply vulnerable details about his sweeping love story with a woman named Victoria.
It's incredible material. And the mission for our deep dive today is to really extract the hidden mechanics he talks about for a well-lived life. Like, how do you balance your turbulent emotions? How do you recognize everyday magic? And ultimately, how do you construct true love?
Which is a tall order, for anybody.
It really is. And the overarching metaphor the professor uses for all of this is so visceral. He compares everyday life to walking a high wire in a cavernous circus tent.
The Equilibrist. Yeah, just picturing that triggers the physical response for me.
Right.
Because the stakes are absolute. One micro miscalculation and, well, you fall.
But you have to step out onto that wire every single day. We all do.
Right.
And he says that this wire represents our emotional life, right? Woven from these tight filaments of faith and friends and family.
Yeah, and those filaments give the wire its strength. But the equilibrist, the person walking the wire, they still need a balancing stick.
Right, to keep from falling over.
Exactly. And in his framework, that balancing stick is love. It provides your center of gravity. But he makes this really vital distinction. The stick is just a tool. The real core requirement to stay on the wire is what his mentor, Mrs. V, calls inner freedom.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because inner freedom sounds a little bit like a motivational bumper sticker to me.
I get that.
Is it just having really high self-esteem? What's the actual mechanic there?
It goes way deeper than just confidence. Think of it as like psychological detachment from external validation.
Okay.
If an acrobat is on the wire and they're terrified of the audience judging them, their muscles tense up. They overcorrect. So inner freedom is this profound realization that your balance comes from inside you. It's the absence of the fear of falling, which paradoxically is what keeps you standing.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense. But out in the real world, the wire doesn't just shake because we're nervous.
Right, there's wind.
Huge gusts of wind. And according to his notes, the most dangerous wind, the thing that knocks us off most often, is anger.
Yeah, and he has this deeply relatable story about waking up just profoundly grumpy one morning.
We've all been there.
Right. The cab driver's yelling, the milkman is mad, the whole world seems antagonistic. It's this cascade of negativity.
So he takes this to Mrs. V, and she gives him a reading called The Land of the Happy People. And she introduces this radical idea. She calls angry people, and anger itself, body snatchers.
Which is such a brilliant categorization. It implies that anger is a parasite. It effortlessly snatches your autonomy. You don't even need someone else in the room to get mad. A remembered slight could just take over your nervous system and poison your whole day.
It's highly contagious. But if anger is this involuntary thing, how do you actually fight a body snatcher? Telling yourself to calm down literally never works.
Never. But the professor gives his students a protocol. He says anger usually camouflages itself as righteousness, right? Like you've been wronged.
Oh, completely.
So to neutralize it, you have to force your brain back into logical inquiry. You have to ask yourself two very specific questions. What am I protecting? And what am I afraid of?
What am I protecting? I really want to linger on that. By asking that, you're essentially admitting that anger is always a secondary emotion.
Yes, exactly.
It's like a defensive perimeter for some vulnerability.
Precisely. Like someone cuts you off in traffic, your amygdala floods you with adrenaline, you feel rage. But if you ask, what am I protecting?
You realize you're just protecting your ego.
Right. You force your prefrontal cortex back online, and then you reframe it. You look at the guy who cut you off not as an enemy, but with compassion, because he's probably infected by his own body snatcher.
So that's how you manage the win. You stay on the wire. But here's the friction. Merely surviving the tightrope isn't the same as enjoying the circus,
Yeah, not at all.
How do you actually see the magic in the everyday?
Well, this is where Mrs. V brings in the concept of the blue unicorn. It's this whimsical poem teaching him that magic is omnipresent. You just have to consciously love life.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here because looking for a blue unicorn, if I'm commuting in traffic, totally exhausted, drowning in vills, looking for a blue unicorn feels like toxic positivity. Isn't that just wearing rose-colored glasses to deny harsh reality?
What's fascinating here is that his own students raise that exact same skepticism. It's a very natural defense mechanism.
Right.
But the text is clear. The blue unicorn isn't delusion. It's not pretending bills don't exist. It represents the boundless potential of your imagination.
So it's not an escape hatch.
No, it requires conscious effort. As we get older, our curiosity is hijacked by societal expectations and this persistent cynicism. Magic isn't something you just passively stumble on. It is actively created by your perspective. You have to consciously choose to extract beauty from the mundane.
Which is hard work. But here's where it gets really interesting. It's one thing to see magic by yourself. What happens when you introduce another human being into all this?
Oh, the collision of two worlds.
Yes. And the ultimate magic he discovers is his life partner, Victoria. Which brings us to the poem Love's Rabbit Hole.
Right.
He analyzes the exact psychological state of early romance, going down that rabbit hole, and he describes the moment love arrives as feeling entirely light, free, confident, and at ease.
It's that dizzying absence of gravity.
It is. And he introduces this mechanism. He says, in this descent, you view your partner through benevolent magnifying glasses.
Yes, the benevolent magnifying glasses.
You look at them with such overwhelming romance that they basically can do no wrong. You see perfection in them.
Which, I mean, that's highly controversial.
It totally is. I read that and thought, isn't that dangerous? Blinding yourself to massive red flags.
Right, we've all seen people ignore terrible behavior under that spell.
Exactly. So how is this healthy?
Well, the distinction he makes is key. He's not saying ignore abuse. He's introducing the radical concept of consciously distorting and rewriting reality to protect the relationship.
Wait, really? Consciously distorting it?
Yeah, to protect it from ordinary cynicism. The glasses create this sterile mental incubator. By choosing to overlook the mundane annoyances, how they chew or their messy desk, you let vulnerability take root before daily friction can destroy it.
Okay, I see. But a rabbit hole is still a dizzying, uncontrollable fall, right? It's not a destination. How does it become a stable harbor for the long haul?
That's the missing element that he explicitly discusses in the companion poem, There Is Something About You.
Oh, the shift in tone there is incredible.
It really is. The language completely shifts. Love becomes this wickedly beautiful spell that fundamentally makes both people feel happy, whole, and safe.
Safe. That is such a profound word to use after talking about a free fall.
Exactly. It's the contrast between the rabbit hole, which is the descent, and the safe harbor, which is the destination. And he explores this beautiful idea that love provides a promise of new beginnings, even at the end of a very long day.
So how do you build that safe harbor?
He outlines it as the three-legged stool of a relationship.
Let's look at the architecture of that stool.
So the first leg is friendship. The text calls this the fortress of intimacy, absolute comfort.
Right.
The second leg is passion, the raw, uncontrollable, sensual desire.
And the third leg?
The third leg is love, but he defines it as ultimate empathy.
Ultimate empathy.
Yeah, it's not just a feeling, it's the perpetual, exhausting exercise of putting yourself entirely in your partner's shoes.
So if any leg is neglected, the friendship, the passion, or that empathy, the stool topples over, the safe harbor collapses.
Exactly, because true love is hard work. But when those three legs are strong, he says it makes the entire world around you disappear. Success, defeat, it all just fades away and creates a new shared reality.
And what's wild is how they navigate being inside that shared reality. Because he writes about their script of contrasts in a poem called The Secret Lies and Opposite Ends.
Oh, this part is fascinating.
Right. Like she drives incredibly fast. He naps in the passenger seat. She leans into risk. He relies on caution. She fights with a fiery temper. He's the quiet peacemaker.
They are diametrically different.
Completely diametrically opposed. On paper, that sounds like a maddening scramble of constant conflict.
A recipe for disaster, honestly.
Yes, you'd think the house would burn down. But he makes this extraordinary discovery. Because they have that safe harbor of ultimate empathy, the differences don't create conflict. They create what he calls love tension.
Love tension. I love that phrasing.
Me too. He says being diametrically different sparks endless passion.
Right, because when empathy is the foundation, differences aren't attacks anymore. The tension acts as an engine. It keeps the relationship totally dynamic.
But to sustain that kind of empathy, to look at someone so different from you and not feel threatened, you have to deeply know who you are.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that perfectly transitions into his final lesson, the concept of geniality. Because to weave your life into someone else's, you have to understand your own thread first.
And he illustrates this with the story of Mr. Lafayette, the chimney sweep.
Right.
Society judges Mr. Lafayette by his soot-stained clothes, shallow appearances, but he's actually this deeply knowledgeable illusionist and a profound mentor.
It's such a sharp commentary. In the professor's framework, geniality has nothing to do with IQ or fame. It's about unleashing your genie in a bottle.
Embracing your authentic gifts.
Yes, and crucially, acknowledging your humbling flaws.
I was thinking about this in terms of energy, like chasing fame or comparing yourself to others is like trying to catch the wind in your bare hand.
Oh, totally. You exhaust yourself.
Right. But true geniality is like building a windmill. You stand firm in your values, you accept the cracks in your foundation, and you let the wind blow past you to turn your own gears and generate power.
That is a perfect analogy. The text warns that comparison is a zero-sum game. True genius actually thrives in shared connections, like threads in a tapestry.
So if we pull all of this together, we started on the high wire, managing our emotional state, fighting the body snatchers of anger with logic.
We chose to see the blue unicorn, using conscious effort to find magic.
We tumbled down love's rabbit hole, but built the three-legged stool to create a safe harbor, using love tension and ultimate empathy to spark endless passion.
And we unlocked our geniality, building our windmills to connect authentically with others.
It's an incredible blueprint, but why does this matter so much for the person listening right now?
Because in this era of endless comparison and anxiety, these aren't just academic poems. They're a practical guide for emotional resilience. And there's this deeply vulnerable admission from the professor near the end.
Yeah, I know exactly the one you mean.
He admits that while Mrs. V taught him many virtues, he had to discover the profound magic of love entirely on his own.
You can have the blueprint, but you have to build the house yourself.
Exactly. Love is the ultimate hidden treasure. You have to find it and then protect it with everything you have.
Which takes us to a final provocative thought from a poem called The Spinning Wheel of Life. The lesson is that existence is a flowing loop. Every ending is simultaneously a new beginning.
The promise of new beginnings.
Right. So for you listening, what if the ending or failure or loss you're mourning right now is actually the exact new beginning required for your truest love or your true genius to finally step out onto the tightrope?
Wow, that completely changes how you view a failure.
It changes everything. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. Keep your balance out there, and we'll catch you next time.